call this select meeting agenda for February 9th, 2016. Present is the full board, Melissa Randall, Tom Carone, myself, Bill Rowe, and our town manager, Ken Woodbury. Would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Additions to the agenda.
Warrant articles 21, 22, and 23, and they're in the warrant section. Road project for 2016, and that's under road issues, item 9. Recall ordinance, and I put that under unfinished business.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything else.
Anybody else got anything to add? No. All right. And I guess we move on to open forum. Anybody have any comments, complaints, whatever have you?
Compliments, we could take compliments too.
Well, yeah. Compliments goes without saying. Guess not. Communications.
We did get a bill from Dover Foxcroft for half the year for last year, which we pay out of this year. We're always 6 months behind. $25,682. It's below the budget, but running a little higher than it was the first half of the year. We still do not have a best guess from the town manager on what it will be for 2016, so I'll keep bugging him so it gets in the budget.
Did you want to make mention of that meeting that's coming up on the 16th in Parkman?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. I don't have it in front of me. Anyway, there is a meeting on February 16th at the Parkman Town Office, 6 o'clock. It's invitation to find out a little bit more about what the towns are trying to think about, what to do as far as, what is it, fiber right versus perk. You know, I heard more pro stuff this morning about fiber right. I guess some fellow was on there.
There was an editorial in the Vanguard against
it. There's a lot of discussion about it. Brewer evidently is going with fiber right.
Yeah, well, they got away from Mountain and Greenbush, so that makes a big difference. Hey, you can be one of the first places to boil our trash.
What they made is, what this fellow this morning from Fiber Right made it sound like was that there are certain beneficial recycling procedures involved in their process that they were kind of touting as a big advantage over throwing more and more stuff into landfills, aka dumps. So yeah, it might be. I'm going to plan on going. The 16th is.
Are they still going to ding us for recycling? Because the way the PERC contract's written, if we recycle too much, we get penalized.
Right. We don't have enough tonnage going in according to our contract. Yeah. So we get penalized for doing too good a job.
I've heard from many different people they don't like that.
This sounds counteract. Well, anyway, the discussion goes on, and you might find it fruitful or whatever. It's coming up though. I think in March.
Is Lauder going to be there? Lauder, the guy from MRC, is going to be there?
Oh, I don't know.
Or is this just?
I think it was just discussion between the towns.
Yeah, and it's mostly on fiber.
They're going to have.
I don't think anybody in particular was going to be there representing. At least it didn't say it in the little email thing or fax thing that I got. So, but it is on the 16th at 6 o'clock. Parkman Town Office downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else under communications? Okay. Okay, approval of selectmen's meetings for the January 28th, 2016 select board meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All those in favor? Done. Okay, next, unfinished business. It's the discussion of a recall ordinance.
I gave you a copy of a proposed one. Came from Melissa.
2 nights in a row.
Sitting in the chair.
Okay.
In case somebody else calls up.
People know where to find it, that's why.
Well, I read this proposed ordinance and I've got no problems with it.
Well, I just received it. So I haven't had a chance to go through it yet.
What I'd like us to do with it is to take an hour, maybe tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday, and get together for a workshop where we go through it and we understand why we've got what we've got, and give both of you a chance to weigh in on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
And then
Thursday would be a better day for me.
yeah,
Which,
Thursday.
Thursday would be good.
What time?
9.
9 works for me. Does 9 work for me?
Yes.
When will that be available for review for the public?
Well, I don't know. Offhand.
Able to review the draft and the completed, or
well, yeah. Certainly have a right to ask for it, yeah. It's-
Yeah, I mean, it's no big deal. So then we get ourselves together on it, and then that too can go to EP for their
Mm-hmm.
shakedown.
So this Thursday,
This
So-
Thursday at 9,
Yeah.
workshop, no public comment, same as always, so we can get it done.
can you make it 9:30 for me?
Yeah. We can make it 10 o'clock.
Maybe.
9:30 is fine.
All right, 9:30 Thursday?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, banker.
Thank you. Thursday, 9:30, I'll get that posted tomorrow.
Now, as far as the issue of copies available to the public,
Well, we need to, before this hits
Yeah,
anybody.
I'm only
we-
talking about when, if someone asked for it, not.
Yeah, well, I can almost guarantee you somebody's gonna ask for it,
well,
so,
he just did.
right, so we need, but it needs to be,
I can wait.
this one here, I did on my 2002, because I couldn't get into my laptop to get to my 2013, so it doesn't have the watermark on it as draft, and so,
Right.
and I want it watermarked before it goes anywhere
Yeah.
with the date, so I'll tend to that.
I can do that.
I sent you an email where I copy, actually, tomorrow I'll stop in, I've got it, on the 2013. I was able to finally get into my laptop and get it over onto the 2013 Word. So I've got it on,
It's a Word document.
yeah, it's a Word document. This is an old Word document.
Yeah, that's okay.
And when I got it into Word, it fixed some stuff that, I was having some spacing problems in the original one.
Drafted
So
it.
Yeah, oh yeah, and there's one place where you got a,
there's a typo in she.
yeah.
So I fixed she there, and
Okay.
Okay, all right, that takes care of unfinished business. Do we have to have a formal vote on the,
I prefer
make a motion that
for
we
to have a
a
special town meeting to discuss it.
special workshop?
Select board
Workshop.
Select Board Workshop Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. for the purpose of reviewing Melissa's recall ordinance.
Will that be open to public?
You'll be able to attend but not speak.
Who made the motion?
Bill
I made it.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Item 8, new business.
Okay.
First on the list is the high-speed internet.
Right, we have Chris Winstead and Georgia Underwood here to talk to us about high-speed internet. Monday evening, we had a meeting of a fledgling group in Sangerville for business development, and one of the things that we are very deficient in here in Sangerville is high-speed internet. Coverage is very spotty here. We got people on, we have 2 bodies of water that people summer on and would like to be able to work from home. We got businesses that would like to have high-speed internet. So
First came up at the budget meeting, actually. That was one of the questions from Tom when we talked about high-speed internet. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Chris Winstead. I'm the executive director for PCEDC, and your hand went up, so I don't want to interrupt. So.
Well, I just wanted to ask a preliminary question. This is in line with what Representative Norm Higgins is trying to put through too, right? Okay, just so.
This is, well, it isn't. It is and it isn't. So let me further explain. So I'm going to back up for a second. So the first process when you're looking at broadband to come to any solutions is to have a true assessment of what you have in your community. What Representative Higgins is working on has been assessment grants for individual communities. What I approached the county commissioners on doing back on January 19th and received approval was to talk to our communities throughout the county about a county-wide application. So what Representative Higgins will do will help that application, but it's instead of one individual community, it's a county-wide approach. And the idea behind that is, so currently, if you're looking at Sangerville and you're trying to figure out what you have the ability that Fairpoint or whomever will come in and talk with you and show you their maps. They generally will not leave a copy of their maps behind because they have proprietary information on it. So you kind of have to do the memory game of where they run, or you have to look up the poles and see which wires are running there. And I don't know, who do you have up here, County?
Yeah, Fairpoint.
Fairpoint, and they're the only, other than HughesNet around the lake, I'm assuming, correct? So Fairpoint has been given dollars to the federal government that they're going to be increasing broadband in rural communities. However, they're still using their normal take models, so they're going to start at the southern part of the state and work their way up. So we would still, in this county, be waiting a while before we see an increased approach. So to access some of the federal dollars out there, to actually implement a broadband solution, it's first required that you have an assessment done. So I've been going around and talking to the different select boards, and at this point have gotten full support. I haven't run into one that hasn't supported it, of doing a county-wide assessment. So what that means is we would have a plan, and what I'm going to pass out is a copy of what an RFP would look like, soliciting a business to come in and do that plan. But they would, and this is not finalized, this is one that we got from a meeting with Sewell, which Representative Higgins was there with us. It was myself, Jack Kluge, and Tom Lazad. There are currently 4 companies in the state who do the assessments. By getting out ahead and going after funding from a different program than the one that Norm's working on, it would actually put us ahead of the game. Once that floodgate is opened, there are going to be many communities throughout the state who are going to be going after assessment grants. I think we're going to be one of the few counties that actually does it as a countywide solution. It gives us the critical mass of communities that we need. It lowers the cost because we're able to purchase in scale. And my goal is to mitigate our cost share portion of it. So I'm not asking for money. All I'm asking for is I'm asking for Sangerville to be willing to be included in that application. That's what, generally speaking, an RFP may look like. So what they do is they go into the community, and we would ask a company to come in and assess what the current service providers are. So they come in and say Fairpoint or HughesNet, they do some speed testing, They look at business communities, how they're served. They look at the residential side. Like a lot of our rural communities in Piscataquis County, where we have our summer residents that come up, they're greatly underserved in the ability to access high-speed internet, and then our business communities are also underserved. So it gives you a plan at the end that says, here's what you would have to do to get to a fully accessible broadband. Now, those solutions are going to look different for each of our communities. What works in Sangerville may not work in Greenville, and what works in Dover may not work in Sangerville. But it gives us the ability to truly look at, here's where we are currently, here's where we want to be, and what's it going to take to get there. By doing the assessment plan, it also gives us the ability to, when we apply for dollars, to actually do an implementation, whether again that's as a county or individual communities step up and say, we have our plan, now we'd like to move forward with it, because there will be some communities that say it's going to take us a little bit longer to get to where we can, write a check for a cost share portion if we don't go through the county. That's a conversation that we'll have afterwards, but this will at least give us the plan that we can actually run with it at that point.
No.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Now, I had a cell phone for a
Yep.
while, and I had piss poor reception at my house, and I'm on a hill and got a perfect southwest exposure to a Dexter.
Yep.
And I still, at most, got 2 bars once in a while, mostly 1 bar and occasionally no service.
I feel your pain. I'm an AT&T customer. I've got right now 2 dots.
AT&T doesn't work in Piscataquis County.
No.
Verizon is the one that will work here.
I've got it. There are certain spots. I can be up in Greenville and it works fine. Actually, around Sangerville into Guilford, I'm fine. I know Route 15 like the back of my hand and can tell people, I'll call you right back before the call drops. So long range planning when you look at it. So Piscataquis County is, we run into several different challenges.
We're in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere, we don't have a large population size. So for Fairpoint, for example, they're going to come in and say, we'd love to work with you. We'd be more than happy to sit down and talk with you. But we need a take rate of 45% and we need a population size of X. Well, neither of those are going to happen. Our population size, even if every single person signed on to it, may not get us to their take rate. So being able to look at what the solution is, that may be a public-private partnership. It may be a municipal run broadband solution in the very end. It may be a county-wide broadband solution. That should increase our connectivity. Now, there are still going to be parts of this county that are going to be a challenge just because of their geographical location. And it may not mean that every area is going to get fiber, but it should look at finding some sort of solution that increases overall accessibility and speeds. I mean, it's great if you can access it, and you can hit the button and go pour yourself a cup of coffee, and then when you're back, your basic email is pulling up. That doesn't help anyone. That doesn't allow people to be able to telecommute and work from home. Doesn't allow people to be able to watch their Netflix.
What's the time frame?
Time frame on this would be an application going in March, and most likely we would know by June. And there are a couple of different funding streams. Both of them run in this spring. And then norms for the Connect Main Authority will probably come online with funding later in the spring. So there are several different backup plans in case the first application doesn't go through.
So there would be a match from the town then to...
What I'm trying to do is, with one of the programs, which is Northern Border, and Ken's quite familiar with it, there is a cost share portion, and you can get creative with it, and we can leverage some private foundation dollars for the match. And again, by doing it on the county, my goal is to get it as minimal, if not non-existent for our communities, because I know with budgets, there have been a lot of challenges. So it's not like people are not sitting, they're not sitting flush with cash. And if they are sitting with cash, it's going towards other things. So my goal is to get this done and get this done in an affordable manner for the county.
I can tell you guys, I got an email over the weekend from Arlene Goldstein. And she was complaining, and 2 other people down the East Sangerville Road have complained that they don't have high-speed internet down there. So, I mean, there is, in the town, East Sangerville is a dead zone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A year ago, we filed with the FCC on the preliminary because they're gonna be funding. Scottsville County already meets the criteria for FCC, rural and et cetera.
A lot of those dollars are rolling out through Fairpoint. That's where the challenge comes. So Fairpoint was the one who in the state ended up getting those dollars for connecting our rural underserved communities.
But the whole point was
To actually
subsidize the difference between how many houses they want within a mile. And knowing that we don't have that. We know that from the very beginning, the get-go. We don't have to go count houses in a mile.
Right.
They're not there.
No, and the hope is, and again, you know, I worked for the federal government, so I'm not how do I want to put this, altruistic individual. So I go worst case scenario or probably realist solution of it's going to be a while before we see them roll it out to every community. So I'm hoping that this can force their hand, and quite honestly, I think some of our final solutions are going to have to be done within the county, and that'll be a public-private partnership.
I would also hope that the final solutions to this will be fiber and not copper, because fiber is unlimited and copper is very limited and will be up against what we faced before. We were one of the first counties to get internet through Cornerstone and the grants that PCEDC did many years ago, but we were capped at 760 kilobytes. And so Connect Maine wouldn't give us anything because we, quote, had internet, even though it was the worst internet possible. But it was good at that time. But in the meantime, we wanted 3, we wanted 5, we wanted 100. And Connect Maine kept blocking us because they kept the threshold low.
It's the same thing, that's been actually one of the first conversations PCEDC had when I worked in Mike's office. We talked about changing those numbers because where they had it at current levels that the federal government was working towards, they were precluding funding any existing internet sources because you had access, even though you were not at the now 20.
Well, even though the federal
20
threshold said anything below 3 is not access,
right.
And they had put 3 to 5. Some of the solutions may have to be, you know, pieces of different technologies to get around the county. The library in Greenville, Shaw Library, will be the first in the state through the Maine Library Association with Axiom.
Yep.
Because they have 100 megabytes and Axiom is going to take 30 of the 100, leaving the library with 70 and putting the transponder or whatever it is up in the top of the library to provide Wi-Fi to all the downtown area. And so for some of us, that may be some of the solutions.
I was actually quite surprised when I was up in Greenville 2 Fridays ago. I was talking to the business owner who has access to gig service on Main Street for $100 a month, and my mouth dropped because that's cheap to access a gig. And I was completely surprised that there was fiber that was fully accessible. So yeah, there's, you know, you've got the ability between wireless in areas like around your lakes. You have what's called deep penetrating wireless. The idea behind that is normal wireless signals. Where we run into challenges during parts of the county, and I'm looking at your map, which is in a topo map, but so you have line of sight wireless. So what that means is you have your tower here, and you as the end user have to actually have a clear line.
But that's about 30 miles.
Right. Now they also have what's called deep penetrating, which, so in this method, elevation, trees, different things like that will slow down your signal, and the further you get away from it, unless you have a significantly ramped up booster in your house to collect that signal, which different sciences say that's not a good idea for health reasons, you're going to see a diminished capacity. The deep penetrating, the idea behind that is it's a stronger and a different signal that goes out that isn't blocked by the trees. So in some of the areas that may work. There could be a wireless in the downtown where you see it spread out. But you still have to Ken's point, you still have to look at if they're going to come in and replace the cables. You know, putting coax up, again, is not the answer. What they need to do is go fiberless.
Fiberglass.
Fiber optics.
Thank you. Sorry, it's been a long day.
So just out of curiosity, and here again, I'm a neophyte on a lot of this stuff, Chris. This will provide certain advantages to the libraries and
Libraries,
to the schools.
Libraries already have.
libraries already have it. So there were dollars that went out where your libraries were wired because they were your educational centers.
Right.
And that's why a lot of communities, and especially in rural Maine, we've seen a lot of our communities, like if you go over to Bower Bank, for example, and I'm only familiar with this because I have a friend who has a camp over on the lake, on the weekends or in the evening you drive by, you know, the town office or the library and you see all of the cars out and the screens are lit up, people are checking their email.
Yeah.
You know, so you can kind of, you can drive by and you know that people are doing work by the glows of their phones, not to make light of it, but you would see that everywhere. And honestly, when I worked in the congressman's office, you know, I had an AT&T phone personally and then I had a Verizon phone through work. Well, when I couldn't get either of those, if I needed to ping into the office, I would be one of those people sitting outside of a library taking advantage of the free Wi-Fi. You know, so your libraries and schools were the first ones to get wired up. The challenge is, even looking at the county, we have the 3-ring binder that runs through parts of the county, but not all of it. The federal government, when they ran that, didn't think of the end user in our rural communities. What they thought about was, oh, get the fiber up. People are going to want it. They can connect to it. Well, again, you don't have a critical mass. So that final mile, which can range anywhere from $15,000 to $37,000 to get that final piece up and get it out to your users, you know, Fairpoint or whomever didn't see the cost benefit in doing that. They're more than happy to say to a community, Sangerville, not a problem. We'd be more than happy to provide those services if you pay for the connection. And, you know, and subsidize their additional subsidies that they're already getting.
Yeah, they're looking for ROI.
Yeah, and there are dollars out there, especially with infrastructure, that if a community, for example, wants to access and create their own utility with a broadband, they could, and they would end up with a higher level of funding through like USDA and some other programs than if I, a business owner, said, I want to expand broadband into that community. So, you know, there will be several different solutions. And, you know, to Ken's point, when he's talking about the wireless connection with Axiom, Susan Corbett and Axiom has done wonderful things in Washington County. And to see what she's done and then to look at the grant dollars she's gone after and the cost, meaning, you know, she's been smart with the money and she's kept the cost down, but hasn't skimped on the technology. It's impressive. Axiom Technologies, Sewell Company, Tilson Technologies, and I'm brain cramping on the last one, are the ones who typically will come together and do your assessment grants. Axiom has a really cool process that they have a digital literacy piece that they'll typically do, and there's an educational component. Because when we talk about broadband, there are two very different levels of broadband. There's consumer broadband, where we're all going to access it, and then there's broadband for our business. You know, we do not necessarily need the 50 up, 50 down at home to watch Netflix. But if you have a business who's sending large data files or wants to be able to send large data files, you know, they may want the ability to connect at a faster speed.
Then 50 is slow.
Then 50 is slow.
So what do you need from us?
I just need a thumbs up from Sangerville that you are interested in being part of the application. Again, I'm not asking for any dollars at this point. I told the county I wasn't asking for any dollars from them. I just want to go out and do a countywide.
You're looking at me.
Make a motion,
You want
Bill.
to make the
You're
motion?
the one.
You want to make the motion?
You're the internet expert.
Internet spread, I like that.
Motion by Melissa Randall,
Yep, there you go.
seconded by
I'll second.
William Randall will, William Randall made the motion.
Yeah, thanks.
Any further comment? All those in favor?
Yeah.
God bless you.
Thank you. And then the final piece I did want to say is, you know, please know, I mean, Ken has an intimate knowledge of PCEDC, but we are there if you need help with anything.
Yeah.
This was a good chance for me to also get out and meet with the select board to introduce myself. Last year was a little busy, so this is giving me a chance in a whirlwind month to hit every single select board meeting. So,
Good for you. Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
thank you. And Georgia, who works out of the office with me, handles agriculture and tourism, so she'll be out and around. If you know of any businesses, she is the person to connect them with.
It might be a interesting person to have in May is it May when we have our next meeting for the,
May 9th, I believe.
yeah,
May 9, yeah.
maybe
Chris is the new chair of
our
our
economic development.
Economic Development Committee.
Fledgling group, but try to drum up some some business here, so to speak, so.
Well,
And what time is that?
6:30.
6:30 here.
And I mean, Ken knows how to get a hold of me. I ran out of cards, I apologize. But we see each other around.
Yeah.
Just feel free to reach out if we can help with anything.
Probably see you on the,
Next Tuesday.
Is it next Tuesday?
I think it's next Tuesday.
Boy,
What?
it's right around the corner.
You mean talking about the quarterly meeting?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
quarterly,
in-
no,
that's in-
quarterly is
That's
the
in
14th.
March.
That's in
I was
March.
thinking you
That's
meant the
March.
county commissioners meeting.
Yeah. No.
So,
Well, maybe.
He haunts them too.
yeah, we had a wonderful conversation with the last one.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah, you get a lot of businesses that
Thanks.
clamor about it, just the low speed.
And
Well,
East
that's-
Sangerville wants its Netflix.
Well, and quite honestly, one of
I live in town and I can't get Netflix.
one of my first meetings when I came on board, Norm called me and said, "I've got a bunch of people over in Milo. I want you to be there." And I was sitting there, and I live in Bangor, and I pay for expensive Time Warner, and it's not worth it. Trust me on this one. And I'm sitting and listening to folks, and one of the residents of Medford said, "I have internet at the house, but I have the ability to telecommute." He goes, "My signal isn't strong enough. I can't even sign into my office." And it's like, okay, this is a no-brainer. He could save gas for 2 or 3 days a week, work from home.
Yeah.
And those are dollars that he'd have to reinvest into something else.
Well, we have a lot of people in Piscataquis County that come up here for the lakes in the summer, that work for, Wall Street
Yep.
and Boston law firms that want to stay here. Some of them would stay here year-round
Oh, yeah.
if
I'd rather
still
There's
had
a lot of
access
folks
to
that
their
utilize
office.
the library's Wi-Fi here 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. You drive by and you'll see, I remember the first time I saw it, I'm going, that's a little strange. You drive by at twilight and you see every car lit up, and it's like,
The library's,
email.
the library's right there, has 100. The office is right there, and we have 7
Yeah.
megabytes.
That was just upgraded, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Small or something?
it was, we had 3, and
Three,
I
yeah.
upgraded us to 7.
But you didn't really need that, did you?
Of course, I need more. You're never gonna have enough megabytes.
It goes the same thing about anything in the world, life.
And hopefully the thought is as you increase broadband, you were talking about the cell phone issue, you'll see that get better as well, because they can piggyback off.
Well,
of
I'm
the-
not gonna get a cell phone.
I don't blame you. As Tom heard me say, I'd love to trade in my smartphone for a not so smartphone some days.
I can tell you after 4 years, it's well worth it.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Thank you.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
we'll see you.
Thank
care.
you.
Thanks, Chris and George.
Okay.
That's wicked cool. Pegs out my cool meter for the night.
Town report, dedication page.
I need to know who you want.
Who died?
Well, we have
The old man of the mountain.
the fireman,
Carl.
was one,
Who
was a
Pete
former-
Bootlier.
Yeah.
former select board
Passed
member.
away.
Okay.
Had quite an extensive serving to the town
Right, that
years
works.
ago.
That works. Does anybody have a picture of him?
Well, the person to get in touch with would be his widow, Jane
Yeah.
Bootlier.
Well, I'll take care of all that, I just need to know who you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah,
Um,
that works.
It's been suggested to me, and I agree, that maybe we could dedicate to the veterans. Especially since we got our new board up,
Yeah,
and we go, that seems to go hand in hand.
We've done doubles in the past.
Yeah, last year we did a double.
Yeah, maybe a nice picture of the new
Monument.
monument and a little
Mhm.
thing underneath it.
Okay, you don't mind 2 on 1 page?
No.
No, we've done
That's-
it before.
Anybody, and we're not missing anybody, are we? Any,
No, I don't think
I
so.
haven't heard of it.
barring anybody making the
Else
ultimate
does it-
sacrifice between now
Well,
and
at this point, they'll be open for next year's report.
Did you have,
The only one I was thinking,
Oh, yeah.
Charlie McShorley.
Yeah.
I mean, at one
Is he-
time, he was quite,
But he didn't. He's not a resident. He
No, and
Parkland, didn't he?
he bounced around quite a bit
well, I mean, that,
in the area.
I didn't care one way or the other. That's the only name I thought
Yeah.
of other than Mr. Bootley.
okay.
But I think that's very good.
Okay, so we're
Okay.
gonna make a motion.
Make a motion that we split the dedication page to honor, was it Pete Boudelier?
Pete.
And also a dedication to the veterans with a picture of our new monument.
Okay.
Yep.
Melissa seconds. All those in favor? Done. Special Select Board joint meeting with Budget Committee, February 24th, 2016 at 6 p.m. in the Town Hall Community Room.
This was the schedule worked out by the Budget Committee. Now, that same evening is a joint meeting of 2 school boards.
Oh,
So there was, at least one member of the Budget Committee raised a concern whether you people would all want to be over there.
No.
And I can't imagine anything's going to happen. Any decisions are going to be made, anything, you know.
Well,
I don't
and
care
one
what
or
you've got to say
two,
anyway, so.
one or two of the Budget Committee members are also school board members, aren't they?
One is, I don't know if there are 2. Is it?
One.
One.
Just Dale.
It's
Ray.
Dale. Well, he's the one that raised the question because he would just assume we change this so he can go. But, you know, it's not like every member of the Budget Committee has to be there.
Well, I don't have anything going on the 22nd or the 23rd that I can see.
The 25th, I think, is our
The last is a
is
select
our
board.
select board meeting.
Now, we could try to meet with them on the 25th at 6 o'clock,
No.
I wouldn't have
then-
enough time.
and that, but we'd be tired. So if you went back to them again at their next meeting and said that we
24th,
were,
make it the 23rd.
yeah, we would be available maybe the 22nd or 23rd if they wanted to change it, but if they can't do it, then it's gonna be the 24th.
Okay, so we're going to suggest the 22nd
Or
or
23rd,
23rd.
whatever they want.
Okay,
Whatever they
all
want.
right.
They've been running their meetings on Wednesday nights because it seemed to work out pretty good for everybody on the Budget Committee.
Evidently, there was a couple on there that had something on.
Tuesday nights,
Tuesday
Rick
nights,
shoots.
'cause right after the first one, they wanted to change it. Well, I think it was Rick, wasn't it Rick that asked to change it?
Just
Yeah.
because that's the
And the
night we do.
Wednesdays work
Well, the
for
second,
everyone.
or the, well, that's,
How about Monday?
It doesn't matter to me,
Yeah.
and I don't know what.
Well, let them
Let
argue, we
them-
don't have to,
let
we
them
don't
argue.
have, that's right.
No,
Let's-
we don't have
let
to
them
settle
deal
it
with
out.
it.
Otherwise, we can do it on the 24th.
That's right.
That's right.
If they can't come up with anything better, we'll do it in the 24th.
Okay, next, approval of a lease through December of 2019 for a DS tabulator at no cost to the town
speaking.
for use in federal and state elections. Now, this tabulator is owned by the state?
And Alvina's been trying to get this for quite some time. And
Yeah.
it is restricted to state and federal elections. If you wanted to use it for school board elections, et cetera, you have to pay.
You don't need to.
No.
Can I ask, what does this thing do?
It
Just,
Tabulate
it
the
tabulates,
tabulates.
yeah.
You feed it through and it ching, 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 they don't have to sit and count. That
Yeah.
probably should save us some money on ballot clerks.
Time.
yeah,
Make a motion to approve?
doesn't cost us anything.
Second the motion?
Doesn't
All
cost us
those in
anything.
favor?
Who seconded it? I couldn't.
I seconded
William Randall did it again.
Yeah, we gotta take care of William Randall.
Okay.
That takes care of new biz. And item 9, road issues and maintenance.
Now, what I did, I gave you the document that was used last year to determine what you're going to do. So before you get into it, I just would like to suggest that you let me call a meeting of the road committee, discuss this, etc., and so they can make recommendations to the select board, and so the select board can come up with a plan and have this all ready by town meeting.
This won't have to be ready for the report.
We never set a
No.
road committee.
Pardon?
We didn't set a road committee last year. We
I
never
know,
formed.
I know we didn't.
And they're a yearly appointment.
And we did appoint him.
Yeah,
Nope.
Yes,
we did.
yes, we did.
When did we appoint them?
And end of September, first meeting in October.
September 8th,
Wow.
Who did we appoint?
we appointed Gerald Jackson, Ron Smith, Brent Randall, Dale Gray, and Virginia Walker.
Yes, you talked me into
She did, didn't she?
Oh, yeah, now I
Bent
remember.
her arm
There's a
back.
Oh,
saying,
yeah,
right, you
yeah,
put me on
yeah,
the appeals board.
Boy, he walked
Okay.
right
Saying
in.
now-
saying they never, probably once in
It
3
was-
years,
it was a
we already
re-
had one.
It was a reward for your attendance.
Oh,
Can
thank
I
you
see
so
your
much.
face? I found something for you to do.
I don't know anything about roads.
They should get a copy of our ethics policy, because there's one gentleman on there that could impact greatly.
I understand. I know where you're coming from.
All right, and that needs to be pointed out to him
Yep.
before he attends our committee meeting. Because I have a memory like an elephant.
Okay. So I just think it would go smoother if we did it that way.
Well,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
now, the other part of that is, they want some sort of a dollar figure, I have heard. Go ahead.
I just,
Yes.
is it, they were quite adamant in the meeting the other night, at least Chummy and maybe a couple others, that we had a list of the roads to be paved in prior budget meetings. Now, I've been on the committee for several years, and I don't remember being given a list.
There was this that was developed last year.
But didn't our road commissioner was at the meeting, and we discussed the road, it was with him, right? It was with Peter, it wasn't
Yeah, I think he
with-
was there when we
Yeah.
discussed.
We did it in,
Right.
we did it in a workshop, we
Right.
sat
Right,
down.
but it wasn't the road.
The road committee never
Right.
developed
See,
that.
the point is that the amount of money that is available in the budget for next year for roads is far less than the amount of money that you really need in the town to do the roads.
To do all the
So
roads.
it is a specious argument to say we need to know which roads you're gonna do before we
I
can approve a
totally
thing.
agree.
Because you couldn't throw enough money at it to do what needs to be done.
That's
So
right.
Powerball, baby.
So all this is determining the priority of what you're going to do. So it's, all the money that's there could be eaten up and again, and again, and again, and still not get the roads
And that is
to where they
not,
wanna be.
and that is not the purview of the budget committee,
Right.
again.
Right, so that is a specious
And
argument
even
that
that
they made.
wouldn't be written in stone, because when they scheduled to do the French's Mills Road, then all of a sudden they couldn't, because another road had to be done, and we lost a year, because they,
Right.
at that time, it was agreed that they would do 4 years and do all 4 miles, and we still haven't done it.
But anyway, I think we can
I
come up,
tried.
we can come up with a plan of what roads we're going to do, so by town meeting, people will know.
I think you
What
can
it
give them
is.
a ballpark figure by looking at Wellman last year, because the goal has always been, at least in the 4 or 5 years that I've been involved with it, to do at least a mile a year.
These all have costs on it.
But
Right?
those costs aren't necessarily accurate, they're a year old.
Well, but even so, looking at the price we got for whatever we got over a mile last year with Wellman, right?
I think so.
We got one?
Yeah,
Over a mile last year with Wellman. We did more than a mile.
yeah.
One. Yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6.
What we did,
Yeah, we did more than a
A
mile.
mile and a half,
Not quite a mile and a half.
okay. So if we gave them the number that our goal this year is a mile and a half, based on the numbers from last year, because number one, you gotta do something, we all know we gotta do something with Mitchell's Hill because of the ledge that's coming in.
Unfortunately, that ledge is gonna be a
And that's-
added cost.
It's gonna be expensive to fix that hill, and then my thought is to do Mitchell's Hill, maybe a quarter of a mile up through there, then go over onto Silver's Mills, pick up where they left off, going up from Brockway Mills at Lynn Eastman's, and go up around the corner with Kasperzak's, where the water's running down the middle of the road, down through there, and then take a hard look at whether you wanna do down by Hartford Lane, or whether you want to do a grind or a shim and a pave out in the bad spot out in East Centerville. That spreads it around. That's my thought.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so we'll sit on this until,
So is it all right if I call her? Okay. Do you-
As long as there's some copies of it
I think.
passed
Yeah,
out.
yeah, I got that. Do you need
Okay.
that, do you need that as a motion or anything? Or?
Do you need this motion? Do you want us to move on?
depends on whether we want to direct them to?
Yes, why don't you direct me? So
Go ahead, Tom.
I'll write it up, including.
Go for
the
it, Tom.
policy.
All right, make a motion for the town manager to organize the road committee to get together for a meeting
Yeah, I'll put the English.
before the town meeting. Before the end of the budget
Yeah.
cycle. too.
For the end of the month would be nice.
For board. Yeah, I mean,
And I'll second it. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Surprised you didn't.
Item 10, appointments.
Could we just,
Oh,
one more thing on the road issues. Did you get any report about the complaint about the wood on the side of the roads? I see the bucket loader went up there, so.
to take care of it, yeah. I haven't
been up.
heard from, I'm sure he would have called me, because he had called me just before the storm, and we've had the storm. So I assume it was taken care of.
Oh, okay, good,
Yeah.
good. Very good.
On Sangerville Road, where we took down the trees, you know, where
They never hold
Diane's.
up.
part of it was how much wood the adjoining landowners wanted. Some didn't want it, but they wanted their neighbors' stuff. Too much of the stuff was left in the ditch.
mhm.
And I think in the future, we need to make it clear to the landowners what you want, get it, hold onto your own land, because by this date, before things freeze, we're gonna come to get them cleared out, because in the springtime, we wanna make sure the waters, and we're not rushing to get them out
Well,
of the
is
ditches.
that if it's causing other problems?
Well, it was causing a problem with the plow wing.
And I want to
Because
ask
it
this
got hit.
possibility that if somebody goes off the road and runs into one of them pieces,
Yeah,
where does that leave us?
Well, it's in our
Okay,
ditch, so
so-
it's our fault, yeah.
That's right.
And one other comment that I got from a resident, well, we got it last year from a business, but this year it was from a resident on Dowdy Hill Road, about the contract plower going by at an excessive rate of speed and someone finding sand on top of their mailbox. So I don't know exactly what that, I saw the contractors go by at least 3 times today in front of my road, and I don't think they were going 15 or 20 miles an hour, if that,
but his
But they're
mailbox
breaking-
is still there, right?
Oh, yeah, his mailbox is still, it just has
Well, he's
gravel on
lucky
it,
because
sand.
there are at least 3 or 4 residents I know of that I receive calls from who don't have a mailbox, let alone sand on it.
You got
From
three.
today's plowing,
I
or?
think, I
You
think
got three
they,
already.
huh?
Really?
We all have lost our mailbox this year, one way or another. We fixed it,
So sand on the mailbox, wow,
but I've never seen him go
Oh,
15
at
miles
least they
an
got
hour.
that mailbox.
No, goes by too fast down that way. Well, this is the
Well,
second
see,
complaint.
he's
this
breaking
year.
it, he's breaking to take the turn on the borough road at your place, though. He's gotta be slowing down.
Well, that was just a comment I had, and this comment came from the same person 2 weeks ago that commented how nice the road had been plowed, so, I don't know, go figure.
We need to find a grant, a community grant for Prozac in the water supply now.
Unfortunately, most of them people aren't on town water supply. Okay, anything else on the road issues?
Nope, I'm done.
Yes. Item 10, appointments, none. Item 11, reports. Turn it over to you.
Now, the nice thing is that we finally have the expenditure report coming directly off Trio. So that Alvina doesn't have to do this separately.
I've been
So-
begging for you, thank you.
So this is off, I think you've got 2 copies.
Yeah.
I think in your folder you've got an earlier version, and then I think you've got a second one. The second one, he's probably plowing the
Yeah, okay.
parking lot. So it's coming directly off Trio now. So, and the nice thing is now that we have the budget, the audit, all these things are getting done one institutionalized format, not,
Well,
because it
it
doesn't
must
vary
take
by
her,
individuals, it's not, every time you change a town manager, you don't have to have a change in the report, everyone's doing the same thing.
and it's so much, you're not gonna get the mistakes. I mean, just plain human error, please.
And you don't get the conflict between different reports.
Yeah, and, oh, well, you did that on purpose. No, we didn't.
So
Really?
we're getting there.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Should I read through this list, or,
Yeah, they've all got it.
okay, so then we can move on to item 12?
Yeah.
Consent items, treasurer and payroll warrants.
Now,
Here's the time.
on the agenda, under item 12, warrant 23.
Yeah.
Why the difference in the amount here?
Oh,
It says $104,678.10 on the warrant, and it says...
104,678.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, wait a minute here. I could swear there was a...
No, just because you found it last time.
Where did I see this?
Was it another one that I, if there's, it's a difference, it's because
Oh,
I
okay.
transposed numbers or something.
All right, okay, all right. I
Are we all right?
Okay, yep, we're good. I can sign it.
I was
Happy.
tried to be a little more careful this time after last time's mistakes.
She made his night. He was so happy with that.
It just looks.
I make a motion, we approve the consent items, treasurer and payroll warrants numbers 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23.
Second.
All those in favor? Abatements and supplements, none. Executive session, none.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second? All those in favor? At 20, yeah, 7:21. All right,
All signed and accounted for. Numbers all do match up.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that wasn't so.
Less than an hour. Thank you.